Hey everybody, John Lorden here. Welcome to another episode of BrainScratch for today, September 22nd, 2017. Hope you've all had a nice week out there. Before we get started, I just want to correct something I said in a previous video. I can't remember which one it was, but I know over the past week I talked about the WebSleuths GoFundMe, and I thought they had removed it from their homepage. I was thinking that was a thumbs up, that they were in good shape. I have been contacted from Trisha over there that owns WebSleuths, and she's letting me know that they are still running the GoFundMe. They are just shy of halfway of meeting their goal. So she also did say that last time I mentioned it, she noticed some donations come in. So I wanted to give a very big thank you to all of you out there that donated to help keep that service going. I believe in that service. I really appreciate the community that's there. They're a bunch of people just like you brain scratchers. They care about the people in these cases, and they do some really good work, and I use them frequently here on the channel, so I wanted to be sure to do anything I could to help them continue to thrive. So I will have a link in the description box below where you can go to their GoFundMe and donate to help keep a community of really good people on the internet going and thriving, and they're too good to let go of. So I wanted to ask for your guys' help on that. Now today's case is a little different than typical brain scratches. This is almost something that I could have considered for a case cracked, but I feel like this topic is pretty broad. There's a lot of information we're going to go through, and there's a lot of questions still lingering, and then there's some very kind of even higher level questions that are raised by this case. So I want to go into it anyway, despite the fact that it's not quite a big open-ended mystery like most of the episodes on BrainScratch are. I still think there's enough questions where it is worth our time and thought, and I hope you'll agree with me. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started on this case. The case, what happened in apartment number 5, which is all about Savanna Greywind. Starting off with a map here. Just wanted to show you guys where this was happening. Here is my new home state, Minnesota, and right between Minnesota and North Dakota, we've got this pin marked, which is Fargo, somewhat famous because of a movie and television show that have been based on Fargo, but now we have a real tragedy that has gone on in this area. Quick stop at Wikipedia just to learn a little bit more about Fargo. Fargo is the most populous city in the state of North Dakota, accounting for over 15% of the state population. According to 2016 United States Census estimates, its population was over 120,000 people. In 2014, Forbes magazine ranked Fargo as the 4th fastest growing small city in the United States. But, over 120,000 people, definitely a growing population, a lot of people there. Here is a picture of Savanna Greywind, and as you can see here, she is pregnant. That is a big part of the tragedy in this case. Unfortunately, Savanna will become a missing person in the 8th month of her pregnancy. But let's go ahead and jump into some articles and start getting the details out. This is from DuluthNewsTribune.com. Something's wrong. Disappearance of pregnant Fargo woman still a mystery. And this is posted on August 22nd of 2017. So literally less than a month ago, this is all going down. A Fargo family has been searching frantically for a missing 22-year-old woman who is 8 months pregnant and disappeared from a North Side apartment building without a trace on Saturday, August 19th. Actually, in my opinion, there's a heck of a good trace, but we'll get into that. The woman, Savanna LaFontaine Greywind, left her family's apartment on 10th Street North to help an upstairs neighbor who needed a model while sewing a dress. But she never came home and hasn't been heard from since. And of course, the apartment that we're talking about that was upstairs is apartment number 5. Some people have a question about what type of dress model could she have been, considering that she was 8 months pregnant. But as you're going to see, the woman living there has a little bit of weight on her, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that she was going to be a dress model for her. And this woman offered her $20 for her help as well. She ordered a pizza before going upstairs to help the neighbor, but never returned to eat it. She left her car parked in the apartment building's parking lot. She left her wallet at home too. When she didn't return, her mother knocked on the door of the upstairs apartment and was told her daughter had left. There's a bit more to the time frame there. Let me bring up some notes I have on this so I can go through it with you guys. All right, let's dive into the timeline just a little bit deeper in terms of what happened on Saturday, August 19th. So that afternoon, Savanna is texting with her boyfriend, Ashton. They've been together 6 or 7 years. He is the father of her unborn child. And then at about 1:30 is when she decides to go upstairs to help this neighbor. At 2:30, her mother, who she lives with, decides to send her little brother upstairs to get Savanna. Let me just explain the family unit to you. So Savanna is living with her mother and father and her younger brother in a downstairs apartment in this building. She's supposed to have given her younger brother a ride to work for him to be there at 3 o'clock. So that's why at 2:30, her mom sends her little brother up. Little brother knocks on the door. There is no answer. He comes back down, tells his family. His father goes back upstairs, knocks on the door. He is told that Savanna is still in there, but they're not finished working on the dress. I believe he's told this by the woman that lives there. There's a couple that live there, a man and a woman. I do not believe they're married. So he goes back downstairs. The mom decides to take her son to his job. So she does that. She comes home and Savanna still hasn't returned home. So now the mother goes back upstairs, once again speaks to the woman who lives up there. And this time the woman says, well, Savanna left pretty soon after your husband Joe came up here, and I don't know where she is. The mom tries calling Savanna's cell phone. It rings, but it goes to voicemail. But it is ringing, so it's not turned off. She also tries texting Savannah. No answer. She calls Savannah's boyfriend, Ashton. He lets her know that we stopped texting around 1:24. Of course, at this point, they're getting very concerned. She's left all her things at home. Where could she be? So around 4 p.m., they call police. At about 4:30, the police arrive. They speak to the family. They decide to go upstairs. They go upstairs to apartment 5. They knock on the door. This time, both the man and the woman are home. They ask if they can come in and if they can look through the apartment. The couple agrees. So police go in. They don't really notice anything. They leave. Around later on Saturday evening, and I don't have a solid time frame on this, the family is once again very upset. They're really worried about Savanna. They haven't heard from her at this point, so they call the police again. Another team of police come out. They once again go up to apartment number 5. They once again knock on the door. Both the man and the woman are there. They ask, can we search in here again? Can we look around? And the couple agrees. They go back through. They don't find anything. They leave. Then the following day, on Sunday, around 6:30 p.m., a police officer and a detective come and they go up to apartment number 5 again. And they knock on the door. This time, only the woman is there. They ask, can we search the apartment one more time? She says yes. They go back through. Supposedly, they don't find anything. This time, they also search the public areas of the apartment building, just any place that they can get to. Nothing is really found there. So that's kind of an overall time frame of what happened just on the weekend that she went missing. Let's keep that in mind as we roll forward here. Fargo police conducted 2 canine searches. U.S. Customs and Border Protection did an aerial search. The Fargo Fire Department searched the Red River, and Savanna's uncle did the same with a personal watercraft. I believe the Red River actually separates the states between where I was showing you where North Dakota is and where Minnesota is. Police searched the upstairs neighbor's apartment 3 times, as I mentioned. They interviewed family members, friends, neighbors, and her employer. At this time, there is nothing to suggest criminal activity, Fargo Deputy Police Chief Joe Anderson said. Savanna lived in an apartment with her mother, father, and 16-year-old brother. She worked as a certified nursing assistant at a senior citizens residence. She and her boyfriend, Ashton Matheny, were expecting a child, a daughter. in late September. And actually, I believe that if the pregnancy would have gone full term, her daughter would have been born this week. They had signed a lease on an apartment in North Fargo and planned to move there on September 1st. So they were literally going to move out of that apartment building to a new area just within a week and a half of her disappearing. It's really, really tragic. Savanna, a member of the Spirit Lake tribe, was born in Belcourt, North Dakota. Her father is a Spirit Lake member, while her mother is a member of the Turtle Mountain tribe. She met her boyfriend in middle school in Devil's Lake, and they have been together for 7 years. Like her, he is a Spirit Lake member. He was living and working in Minneapolis when she became pregnant, and he moved to Fargo in anticipation of their daughter's birth. So just from the backstory that we got there, we have a young couple excited to bring a new life into the world, shaping their lives together for the future of that child, preparing a lot of things. And unfortunately, all of this gets derailed when Savanna disappears. And at this point, I know if you don't know the story, you're probably thinking, well, could she have freaked out? Did she leave of her own accord or something like that? We will get the answers to those questions before the end of this episode, but let's continue. Jumping over to WDAY.com, this is a clip of her boyfriend being interviewed. Let's see what he has to share with us here. Let me just turn up the volume for you guys.
It's very unlike her to just up and disappear like that without telling anything, and I don't think that she would do that.
Now, there is, as usual with these missing person cases, there is a little bit of rough dialogue from Savanna's family about the police, about their urgency. Are they really acting as quickly as they can in this case? Are they paying it all the attention that they should be? A few rough words from them, pretty well handled in general by Chief David Todd. But we have an update from him here. This is posted at dailymail.co.uk.
The Fargo Police Department has put all of its resources towards solving this case from the beginning. We've had 35 detectives, 4 sergeants, 2 lieutenants, and a deputy chief overseeing this investigation. We've also asked for assistance from outside agencies and used 3 aircraft, watercraft, and canines in trying to find Savanna Greywind. Yesterday, we were able to develop some information that led to a search warrant, which was conducted today. When we conducted the search warrant at the suspect residence, we discovered an infant that appears to be a newborn infant.
Okay, in case you didn't quite put it together, so the search warrant was actually for apartment 5, and when they went back there, they found a newborn baby. Which of course is raising everyone's concerns about where is Savanna, what is going on here. Jumping over to CBSNews.com, newborn found in search for pregnant woman Savanna Greywind is likely her child. The newborn found in a Fargo apartment Thursday is likely the child of a 22-year-old woman who was 8 months pregnant when she vanished nearly a week ago. Savanna Greywind, who lives nearby the apartment and was last seen helping a neighbor there Saturday, remains missing. Fargo Police Chief David Todd released a statement early Friday saying 32-year-old William Henry Hain and a 38-year-old Brooke Lynn Cruz, who live in the apartment, have been arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit kidnapping. I'm kind of curious why they can't just charge them up with straight kidnapping at this point. I mean, they have the child, maybe because the mother isn't there to verify that they actually took the child. Perhaps that is part of why they can't go for that full charge. Here we have a picture of both of them being booked, it looks like. Brooke Cruz was home during the execution of the search warrant. A newborn infant was also present in the apartment, Todd said in the statement. The infant was alive and was immediately taken to a medical facility. Authorities are conducting DNA tests to confirm the child's identity, which could take several days. Here they also have images of a Cherokee Jeep that is used by the couple. I just wanted to show this to you guys. One of the things I'm asking for in terms of putting this video out is hopefully more information to help the police and the prosecution with their case here. So please take a good look at this vehicle. If you live in this area, if you are familiar with this vehicle, or if you remember it from this time frame, time seeing it in some odd place or something like that, please use the contact information I have in the description box below and phone that in. From what I'm seeing on the charges on this case, they need better information, and I'm pretty sure if they get that better information, we're going to see some stiffer charges coming their way. But let's continue here. Fargo Police released photos on their Facebook page of a 1996 Jeep Grand Cherokee and asked anyone who's seen the vehicle in the area between Saturday and Thursday to contact them. So got a bit of a stretch there, but remember this is from August 19th to whatever that Thursday is. I believe it's the 24th, but I might be incorrect there. And let's see if we can learn a little bit more about this couple. This is from BismarckTribune.com. Couple accused in kidnapping have at least 9 kids between them. In Brandleton, Florida, Aaron Edwards, who had a child with Cruz 22 years ago, said he was shocked to learn from his daughter that her mother had been accused of such a crime. To him, she was not particularly dangerous, but irresponsible, not having been involved with their daughter's upbringing for the past 19 years and not paying child support. He said his daughter's in touch with 3 other siblings who have been similarly ignored by Cruz, and he knows Cruz has at least 3 more children. So theoretically, there could actually be more out there. From what Cruz told him, she seemed to have a rootless childhood, bouncing in and out of foster care, though she never used that to justify her behavior, he said. She had a powerful temper, he said, but wasn't violent except for their last fight over bills when she threatened him with a hammer. And then down here, Cruz stated dating Hain around 2014, and it seemed to have been a stormy relationship according to court records. Police reported they had a fight that led to Hain throwing her into the bathtub. He pleaded guilty to simple assault. In 2011, when the younger of his 2 children was a baby, Hain brought him to a Grand Forks hospital where doctors found fractures in his skull near his right ear. Law enforcement officials determined the fractures couldn't have been caused by an accident or medical condition and charged Hain with child abuse. He pled guilty in 2012 just before a jury trial was to begin. So, man, we've got 2 people here, both with some type of violence in their past, specifically violence involving someone being thrown into a bathtub. That might be a little important in terms of us understanding what could have possibly happened to Savanna. Just keep that in mind as we roll forward here. Moving over to CBSNews.com, we get another update. A very unfortunate update. Greywind's body was found Sunday evening by kayakers in the Red River, which borders North Dakota and Minnesota, heavily wrapped in plastic and duct tape. And at this point, you had the community was really rallying around the family. You had people that were out searching for her, but it is once again one of those chance encounters. It seems like people walking their dogs and people boating in some way seem to discover bodies a lot in the cases that we review here on the channel. So in this case, it was kayakers that found her. A criminal complaint says Cruz told police she arranged to have Greywind come to her apartment and told her how to self-induce birth by breaking her own water. Why would anyone want to do that? I really have no idea, but there's this kind of wacky story that Brooke is basically telling the authorities. Cruz told police that Greywind left, but came back 2 days later to give her the newborn baby. Once again, why? None of this even seems logical. But Cruz's boyfriend, William Hain, told police that he came home August 19th to find Cruz cleaning up blood in their bathroom. Hain says Cruz presented him with an infant baby girl and said, "This is our baby. This is our family." Okay, so we've already got some problems going on here. First of all, it sounds like Brooke is trying to tell some type of out there story about a woman that for some reason is going to induce birth a month before this baby is due. Leaves her home for 2 days to do this, comes back and then gives the baby to Brooke. I think Brooke put this story together because she's assuming that police can then think that something else happened to Savanna, that she left after that, and then, someone took advantage of her or found her or something along those lines. This story really falls apart, though, when you consider that her boyfriend is saying, no, I came home on August 19th and I found my girlfriend was basically cleaning up blood in our bathroom and she had a baby. Now, the huge question for me, and it's strange because according to what I'm seeing, there's several comments from police saying they don't think that this is the case. But in my logic, shouldn't someone else be involved here? Because you have the police in that apartment twice on that Saturday, once on the following Sunday. Then they say they had that place under surveillance all the way up until they got that warrant on Wednesday and then went in on Thursday and found this baby. How did they miss a child being in the apartment? I have to assume that the child was not in the apartment at that time. So where was the child? Was there someone else taking care of the child? Were they hiding the child somewhere? Could they have put the child out in their car or something along those lines? Would the police would the police search their home but not necessarily search their car? I really don't know. And this is just the start of the questions that I have about this case. It just starts unrippling into all these different avenues, and I can't really make sense out of it. In terms of the police saying that they were under surveillance, did they notice that Brooke or her boyfriend William went to buy any supplies having to do with having a baby? Would they have done that before the fact? Did they really premeditate this and plan this before the fact? I don't know. There's a lot of considerations here that I'm really, really struggling with. Back to the article. Hain admitted to police that he helped remove garbage bags containing bloody towels and his own bloody shoes from the apartment and disposed of them in an apartment building dumpster in West Fargo. Cruz allegedly admitted she had taken advantage of Greywind in an attempt to obtain her child and possibly keep the child as her own. Cruz also allegedly said she had multiple opportunities to turn the child over to law enforcement or the Greywind family, but did not, though she knew that Greywind had been reported a missing person. Now, once again, I just have to put some logic to the test here. How did this woman think that she was going to get away with this? She's living in the apartment building with the family that she has basically stole this child from. It's just baffling to me. Now, if she really did premeditate this, if she thought about it enough to, buy the baby supplies ahead of time, to figure out how she was going to subdue Savanna so that she could take Savanna's baby, wouldn't she have thought, okay, well, after I get all that done, we're going to have to get out of here? Like, literally, we're going to have to be gone that weekend? No, they stay for nearly a full week before they get in trouble. I'm not sure that there is a lot of premeditation going on here. I think Brooke might have been caught up in a bit of a weird fantasy in her head about being able to get rid of Savanna and to keep her baby and then raise it as her own. But you've got no birth certificate. I mean, how are you going to put this kid into school? Yes, I know there's black market stuff where you can get around all that, but this is just, there's so many considerations, and it seems like she does not have the foresight to pull this off. And obviously they didn't with how quickly that they were caught. It's just terrible, the price that has been paid here. And couldn't they have had the foresight to look at even what Brooke wanted to do in terms of this fantasy of her taking this baby to be her own, and just stop and say, oh yeah, but I have to kill someone to do all that? I'm going to wind up in jail. How am I going to be able to raise this baby? I mean, it defies logic to me. It's really, really out there. I don't know if there is any drug or alcohol abuse or any of that going on in this home, but it seems to me like this woman is not thinking clearly. Back to the article. A judge set a $2 million cash bail for both after prosecutors said the couple had been searching travel websites online, suggesting they were planning to flee the city. So maybe they were doing something along the lines of what I thought, planning on getting out, but they just started that planning too late. An abandoned farmstead was also being searched in neighboring Clay County, Minnesota, after suspicious items found there by property owners indicated it might be a crime scene. This is a farm which is believed to have been abandoned for abandoned for 20 to 30 years. We will find out very soon here at valleynewslive.com that authorities are now saying a farmstead in Clay County near where Savanna Greywind's body was found is no longer considered a crime scene. Once again, I don't know what was found there. It seems like the owners were concerned enough about what was found there, but the authorities have rolled back on that as being potentially related to this case. The last known place being investigated was the apartment building where Greywind was last seen. Questions I have around this: if the apartment building is where Savanna was killed by these people, how did police not pick up on that? I mean, they searched that place 3 times that weekend. And admittedly, it's a different type of search, right? If you allow them to come into your house, they might be going through the closets. I would assume they're going to at least look in the bathroom. According to the boyfriend, we're hearing that his girlfriend was cleaning up blood on the floor. And the police, we know, were there probably by 5 at the latest. And what time did he get home? I'm really not certain, but I believe that he was there the first time the police showed up. So he obviously got home before they showed up. Maybe he helped her clean up or something like that. But I can't believe that they would have done that good of a job, that there was nothing to be detected in the apartment. I'm really not sure. Fargo police say that they are still actively pursuing all leads and options to determine where Greywind's murder occurred. And by the way, I don't want it to sound like I'm being critical. It's not that I'm being critical necessarily of the police here. I'm just baffled at this couple being able to pull something like this off when you consider how little logic it seems like they were running on. It seems like there was just not a lot of thought being put into this, but somehow it's like they're just stumbling into the perfect crime for a matter of days before they're caught. It really just blows my mind. Over at KFYRTV.com, we get an update about the funeral for Savanna Greywind. According to other reports that I saw, I think there was nearly 1,000 people that showed up at this service. Hundreds of mourners gathered in Fargo Thursday for the funeral of 22-year-old Savanna Greywind, many of them wearing red shirts. The funeral included Native American songs and tributes from Spirit Lake Tribal Chairman Myra Pearson and Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney. The red shirts are meant to honor Greywind and other indigenous women killed or missing. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to cover this story. This story is acting like a little bit of a catalyst to a bigger conversation. I know there's several brain scratchers out there that have been sending me messages about this going on. Essentially, there is a real problem with Native American women in particular going missing, also violence towards them. And there's trouble with how these cases are processed because of a bit of the barriers that happen between reservations and the rest of the states, or even sometimes federal jurisdictions in some of these cases. So it's troublesome, and perhaps this case could be a catalyst to start some dialogue about how to make these things a bit better. And we're going to touch on that a little bit by the end of this as well. But it is just a terrible, terrible story. Here we have pictures of the newborn. Newborn is child of Savanna Greywind. So we have the official confirmation. The boyfriend of slain Fargo woman Savanna Greywind says DNA tests have confirmed that he and Greywind are the parents of a newborn girl found in the apartment of 2 people charged in the case. Legal custody of the baby hasn't been awarded, but he believes it will happen soon. He said the baby has been in his care for nearly a week, and you can see these pictures of this very, very beautiful child. It's really just kind of heartbreaking that it's part of this whole story. Over at KVRR.com, father, grandparents working together to raise Haisley Jo. When the decision was made, he cried and said that he couldn't wait to get back to his daughter. The court has granted Ashton Matheny, boyfriend of Greywind, full custody of Haisley Jo. Savanna's family released a statement on the ruling saying, Savanna's family is enjoying a wonderful shared relationship caring for Haisley Jo and spending many beautiful moments bonding with her. Haisley Jo is their little shining star. Ashton, who left Haisley Jo with Savanna's parents while he attended the hearing, says they have a good relationship. It's their first grandchild. He said, "I would never keep her from them." Haisley Jo's family is holding a baby shower on Wednesday to celebrate her life, and I believe, if I got the date right on this article, that basically they're having the baby shower on the day that Haisley Jo was actually due. I also did see another article saying that the baby was able to go to her mother's funeral. So it's weird to have these kind of sweet moments that are wrapped up in this type of tragedy, but I'm sure that her family appreciates having this kind of beacon of light that's coming out of all this. Jumping over to WebSleuths.com, very interesting point here raised by Oregon Mama, and I've seen it echoed by several other people. I'm not an expert, but there would be a 3-minute time frame to remove a baby if mom was not alive. And from other things I've seen, it's somewhere from 3 to 4 minutes. And this really raises one of the big questions I have about this case as well. What happened? How did this go down? What really happened to Savanna? Now, unfortunately, we're not getting anything from authorities except that they can verify that it was violence, that violence is the cause of her death, some type of violent act. But there is no details in terms of what that violence is. And it just, I don't know. Once again, you have to think, are these people really premeditating this? Did they think of some way to subdue her and then they took the baby out of her maybe when she was still alive? Or it's just, I don't know. And I know it's a bit morbid to think about these things, but to really understand where this case is going to go and the additional charges that might be coming their way, these are the questions that have to be answered. Spellbound over at WebSleuths replied to that message, making a good point. I did a Google search, and there are directions to be found for a home C-section if you want to look, which didn't even occur to me when I was first having this thought about how did they do this, how did they pull this off. But apparently it's as simple as a web search to figure out at least how to do a C-section. Who knows what else they searched for. I'd be really curious to see what their search history was like actually on their computer, assuming that they had one at home. If there might have been other searches related to possibly how the baby was removed or potentially even what they might have done to Savanna. But I have a feeling that we're going to have to wait several months for a court case on that for any of those details to come out. Apparently right now, a lot of the paperwork that's being processed around this case is being kept locked up and out of the public view. So that's why we have so many questions and very few answers on this. I do want to call out an article. If you only read one article on this case, I really recommend that it's this one posted at twincities.com. It was written by Blake, I'm going to get this last name wrong, Gumprecht, hope I'm saying that right, of the Forum News Service. It's a bit of a long form version of the story. Blake is even in part of the story. He actually wound up going to the apartment before it was raided. If you watch the police press conference on this, I believe Blake actually mentions that to the chief. I think it's the chief that's talking there, and the chief kind of gives him a little verbal slap on the wrist about, hey, you could have blown our whole thing, or you might have caused harm to the baby. Really tense moments all around this case, of course. But this article might have some clues to the answers that we're looking for as well. The couple who lived immediately below Cruz and Hain told the Forum later that they heard loud noises coming from the bathroom of the suspect's apartment on Saturday afternoon, about the time Savanna went upstairs, banging in the bathtub. The noise lasted for about 20 minutes, then the shower was turned on. They were so accustomed to Cruz and Hain fighting that they didn't think anything more of it at the time. So potentially here you have someone that might have heard at least what was going on upstairs involving Savanna. Relatively little is known about what Fargo police did to try to find Savanna between Saturday, August 19th and Thursday, August 24th, when they raided the suspect's apartment and found Savanna's body. And this is one of those hard points because, like I mentioned, the family was being a little bit critical of police, but based on the information we have, if Hain is indeed telling the truth, There is practically nothing the police could have done to help save Savanna in this case. It seems like what happened to her probably happened to her very, very quickly. But that's only if you consider that Hain is actually telling the truth and Cruz is just telling a story. The police response, however, has inspired many questions from Savanna's family and friends, from the public and the media. Why did it take police so long to act? Why did it take them until Thursday, 5 days after Savanna's disappearance, to execute a search warrant at apartment 5? Police later said they had lacked a criminal nexus required to obtain a search warrant until Wednesday, August 23rd. What happened on Wednesday? The apparent breakthrough in the case came Wednesday morning when Fargo police interviewed people who worked with William Hain at Assured Quality Roofing in Fargo. Hain's co-workers said that he had talked about having a baby at home. Once again, the intelligence that these people are demonstrating, it's amazing to me that they were able to pull this off. I am just completely blown away. Why would you start talking about that at work, that there's a baby at home, when you know there's an active investigation going on? It's crazy. The two suspects, Cruz and Hain, were formally charged on Monday, August 28th. They were each charged with conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, and providing false information to police. Once again, and this is a big part of the reason why I did this episode, the charges that we're seeing here are kind of light for what actually happened. And I believe there is more information out there that is needed specifically by police to make these charges a bit stiffer. What it appears to me is, of course, with the time frame they have, knowing where she went, we've got enough witnesses that can verify that she went up there. We've got witnesses potentially from downstairs that heard something happening up there in the bathroom. It seems like they don't have enough exacting proof or very strong evidence for getting the right types of convictions that we're looking for here. Conspiracy to commit murder is much different than an actual straight up murder charge. So is it possible that they're still collecting information? I absolutely think so. Is it possible that more charges could be coming later? I think that's probably likely. We don't know the condition of her body. We don't know what the coroner has been able to determine outside of cause of death seems to be from some sort of violence. Are they looking for a particular weapon? Are they going to be able to find that to make these charges stick? There might be someone out there that has the answers to these questions. From what I'm seeing from these people, they didn't think things through very strongly. They seem a bit loose-lipped. So I'm hoping that someone out there might see this video. Please, if you do, if you have any piece that could even help in this, if you saw Cruz at some location or Hain at some location that was just a little bit odd, please use the contact information below and get that information into the authorities. You never know. It might be another place that they haven't looked yet. There might be one particular trash can that has a knife or a hammer or something that brings this whole case together so we can get these charges stiffened up. Let's go back to the article here. Charging the two suspects with conspiracy to commit murder rather than murder suggests that police and prosecutors may not know who actually killed Savanna. That's very possible. And it also occurs to me that I'm wondering if the two of them are intentionally giving different stories so that they're making the legal process actually a bit tougher for not just the investigators, but the prosecutors that are going to have to come in and try to get convictions in this case. Could there have been other people involved in the crimes? Police have said no, that they believe they have in custody the two people responsible, but what we know suggests the possibility that they had accomplices. Neither Savanna nor the baby were present when police searched the suspect's apartment on the Saturday she disappeared, twice, and both suspects were home. Savanna and the baby had to be somewhere during that time, and at least the baby was alive. Like I said, outside of the possibility, and I would hate to think this, but it's certainly possible, that they kept the baby in a different closet somewhere or a car or something horrible like that, unattended. I'm with the author here. I think that there could be another accomplice. Also, we're assuming that Brooke, I think it's Brooke. It could be either of them. We're assuming that they would be able to actually get this baby out of Savanna after subduing Savanna in some way. I'm not sure if these are the people that could really be able to do that. And this is a baby that's being born premature. Somehow this baby came out and this baby is healthy and this baby is alive. Could they possibly have had help from someone else to make all that happen? I really don't know. Preliminary hearing for Cruz is scheduled for September 28th and for Hain on October 4th. Back to the Bismarck Tribune, a different article. This one just posted this week. Tribe's letter raises some major issues. The United Tribes of North Dakota wants the state congressional delegation to take action in cases of missing and murdered Native American women. In a letter to the delegation, the tribes outline a number of steps they would like to see taken. And I love that one of the first points here is to create a federal, local law enforcement task force regarding the killing of Savanna Greywind to ensure justice and appropriate crime victim resources are provided to her child and family. And I really hope that they get some traction on that. I think it'd be hard for people looking at this letter to not be moved by that. Direct the Department of Justice to commission a cross-jurisdictional law enforcement task force to reopen cold case files of missing and murdered Native American women. Direct the task force to create national protocols on missing Native women to coordinate with multiple jurisdictions. Like I mentioned, there are some issues with getting coordination to happen in these cases. And I love that they're highlighting that. They're really calling that out and they're asking for help with that. Like I mentioned, I think this case is a perfect time to start this type of dialogue and to hopefully gain some traction on it. Some other recommendations, they included ending the exclusion of tribal governments from the Federal Crime Victims Fund. That sounds pretty fair to me. I'm not sure how that exclusion happened in the first place. Requiring the Department of Justice to collect and provide statistics on missing and murdered Native American women, and providing tribal law enforcement and courts additional funding to develop protocols on missing persons. And apparently that's part of the challenge here too, is sometimes these tribes only have so many resources to work with. They might be able to pay for a couple of officers to monitor their area, and then all of a sudden you have a bit of a more serious crime like a missing person or a murder happen, and these guys they don't have the experience or the resources to really deal with that. Talking in this case, we heard from the police in this case, they're coordinating with other agencies. Even her body actually wound up being autopsied over here in Minnesota because of the side of the river that she's found on, but there's definitely coordination going on there. We need to open the door to have coordination with these tribes as well. Native American women have been the target of violence, too often resulting in death. More needs to be done to combat the problem. And I just wanted to echo my appreciation that they are taking these steps and trying to raise awareness to this. I think this is a good time to do that with this particular case, because this case obviously has received a national level of attention. But to bring it all back, this picture that is posted at WebSleuths really says it for me. We have a new father, unfortunately, that is going to be raising his daughter without her mother around. And as heartbreaking as that is, you can see that there is certainly joy that is being shared between these two. It's almost like, the love that he had for Savanna will in some way always carry on now that Haisley Jo is around as well. But speaking of which, I just wanted to give you a quick update. I did look into making donations for this case. Is there anything available for people to be able to contribute if they want to help, particularly with the family or with Haisley Jo? And the family made it very clear they are not doing any GoFundMes. However, apparently some people have been trying to put GoFundMes together. So these are either fraudulent or they're people that don't understand the family's wishes. The family does not seem to want to do the GoFundMe thing. So there is one legitimate donation method that I've been able to find, and that is if you have a U.S. bank that is near you, you can go into that U.S. bank and you can ask to donate to a specific account called Haisley Jo. And that account, of course, will help in her upbringing. But outside of that, I have not seen any way really online for you to even donate to this cause. So I'm going to have to see if there's a U.S. bank around me. So Brain Scratchers, I'm here with a bunch of questions. Ultimately, they're a bit more related to Savanna. How did Savanna die? What happened to her? Did someone assist with what happened to her? Did someone assist with the birth of the baby? How did Savanna get to the river? How were they expecting to get away with this? I mean, it just seems like common sense would have told these people right from the start, this is a terrible idea and don't do it. But unfortunately, it's like they didn't listen to that. It just was not well thought out in any way. Was someone helping them hide the baby during these searches? Did anyone see them potentially dump Savanna in the river? Once again, that's why I'm doing this video. I want these questions to get out there. I want people in this area to think, and they might have some piece of info that could help with this. And there might be other things that I can't even consider, some info out there that you guys know about. If you have it, please use the contact information in the description box below to call it in. And outside of that, this is where I turn it over to you, Brain Scratchers. Let's talk about this case in the comments below. I appreciate your respect in this case. This is a really tough one, and I do think it is opening dialogue, particularly about Native American women, that also needs to be had. I'll be keeping an eye on that as well. Maybe we'll do some more episodes to try to talk about the scope of that problem a little bit more. But please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. Just one last reminder, you can help keep people like us together and thriving on the internet by supporting WebSleuths. Please consider using the link below to donate to their fund and keep them up and running. There's also some information at websleuths.com about other ways to donate. If you want to use PayPal or Google Wallet, you can use those and send it to the email websleuthsdonations@gmail.com, and that will also get to them and help keep them rolling. So take care, everyone. Hope you have a nice weekend. Remember to keep yourselves and your families safe, and think about your neighbors too. This case really highlights for me the importance of community, especially because it was so close to home. The danger was so close to home in this one. But thank you so much. I will see you back here on Monday on the Lord and Arch channel.